one issue which has been popping up is the power shortages, power cuts across the state, and the blame game has started. Like people have been telling that it is some kind of uh, issue with the laborers who are working, and few people have been suspended because this is a huge issue across the state. And Vijay has given 200 units free. Before it was 100 units. Now it has become 200. So some people are saying people are using more power, and Tamil Nadu is a power deficit state. We are buying power from private people, is what they are telling, and they say in 6 months we'll fix this. But we are on track in fixing this. So one is handling the anti-incumbency, because opposition parties have started telling we handled power crisis better. So why is there in power cuts? Because it's summer as well. Usually in summer power cuts are much higher. So how do you think the government should tackle this issue in terms of one is communicating to people, and the other one is handling the actual crisis?
See, this is there are two aspects to it. The crisis can be technical, or the crisis can be man-made. I had read a few narratives in the net that there could have been sabotage, there could have been some officials would have done it and who have allegiance to different parties and things like that. I don't know all that. I mean, I cannot comment on all that because it is not my. I can only look at the problem in a very simple way. This is peak of summer. Power demand is highest, and we have to match the demand with the supply of electricity. It has during Ms. Jayalalitha's period, there used to be a huge power shortage, and there used to be phased power cuts in all over the state. And then she gave a guarantee and she corrected it within about 3 months or 6 months. There was hardly any power cut in the entire state, and that comfortable situation continued till recently. Now suddenly there is power cut. There is no doubt about it, and the power cut is very haphazard. It is not planned. Earlier it used to come in newspaper that power will not be there in this area, in T Nagar area, from 11 o'clock to 1 o'clock, or there will be a kind of timetable which will be given, so people will know that this is a planned activity of the department. But now power suddenly goes off, and it is erratic, so erratic that we don't know what is the reason for. I mean, so as you rightly said, there are two aspects to it. One is purely technical aspect that involves only the engineers and the technologists. They have to sort it out in terms of supply and demand and supply. We are not a deficit state. We have enough power. I am not carrying the exact data. We can supplement it. We are not a deficit state. We are a state with, I think we match our demand fairly. But the problem is we have to find out whether it is with distribution, whether it is with pilferage. What is the area in which there is problem, and that is all. I mean, all of this is technical. This has to be handled not by politicians, ministers, or bureaucrats, but technocrats. They have to handle it. Mr. Vijay has to call a meeting of the technocrats and ask them, understand what is the reason for all these things, and ask them a time frame for solution. That is very easy, because we were having last 2-3 summers, there was no problem. This summer it has started. The second thing is, you said 200 units are free. Whether you give the entire electricity free also, it has got nothing to do with power crisis. It has got nothing to do with it. That is a commercial angle which has got nothing to do with power production and power distribution. I mean, government tomorrow, if it says that all power in the state is free, that doesn't mean that the power plant will recognize such a thing and stop by itself. Power plant is a power plant. It will generate power whether you are distributing it free or you are not distributing it free. That has got no bearing at all on this power crisis right now. The third thing is, which is very important, is how the government communicates about it. The government should come out with some kind of credible situation paper that this is what is the situation, this is our demand, this is our supply, this is the kind of commercials which are happening, and we are at, I mean, the TNEB or whatever is the distribution company is facing this much loss. This is the shortage of production. The private players which include not much of thermal power, but non-conventional ones like solar, wind energy, and things like that. They are producing this much. Then there is a distribution problem like this, and nuclear power also we have got in Kalpakam as well as Tuticorin. So from all these sources, our production is this much, our consumption is this much. This is a shortage. This is how we are planning to bridge it. There should be a very, very frank and clear-cut communication from the government, and they should tell that we will sort it out in this manner, and they should be able to tell why it is happening in this year and not last year, last to last year, and what is the shortage. So that has, you see, the problem is Mr. Vijay has, assumed power, but he has to start without any honeymoon period. He cannot. Unfortunately, public is willing to give him a honeymoon period of being lenient on judging him. But he cannot afford to enjoy any lean period at all. He has to work double hard because for some reasons problems are happening. I don't for a minute say that it is being created or anything like that. I don't know because we cannot comment on that. But problems are emerging. Like this electricity problem is major. So he has to solve it technically, and he has to communicate to the public and get them convinced that this is how we are going to solve it, and give a time frame. Because it is not possible in 21st century to have these kind of power cuts is unheard of in any developed country. The other day I was sitting with the Consul General, they call him something else, of Taiwan. He says that it is unheard of power cut because they are the world's best manufacturers of chips, silicon chips and all. And if there is a power cut for even 1 minute, then the whole thing goes haywire. So there is no concept of power cut in most of the countries. Even Bombay never used to have power cut when there was private. Even now, I think there is no power cut. So what is the problem with distribution? Whether the distribution problem or production shortage, they have to take a very serious call on it and allow technocrats to handle it, not play politics with it.
Okay. And because you were talking about this, there are a lot of tenders which have been cancelled in the EB department, which have previously been allocated in the last year. So how does it impact the overall business people and the economy? Is it a right thing to actually cancel tenders which are already given, or is there some specific grounds on which these can be cancelled?
See, all tenders are elaborate documents with lot of do's and don'ts, lot of terms and conditions, very elaborate documents. If you see any tender papers of the government, they are documents with a huge amount of intricacies. Now, on what ground each tender was cancelled is not known to me. We only know that tenders were cancelled, and the impression that the public gets is something majorly wrong happened in allocating those tenders, and therefore Mr. Vijay, with his clean hands, has cancelled it so that there is no corruption. This is the impression that that public gets, that he has cancelled, let us say, 100 tenders. That means something good is happening. Something good is happening. I do not know the details of it, but I can say that these things have to be done very technically. See, electricity department is not a political department. It is a technical department. Railways is a technical department. Telephones is a technical department. It is technocrats who have to have the primary say. And why a tender is cancelled, and after cancelling the tender, what will happen? What will be the time lag in implementing certain projects because of cancellation of tender? These have to be weighed. And it has to be seen as to what is in public good. Suppose something has happened. Uh, let us assume corruption. Some corrupt practice has got into, let us say, 10 tenders. You please understand that corruption is a different thing altogether. Providing electricity is a different thing. Tackling corruption is different thing. The tender should go through. The man should be able to implement or complete the project for which he has been chosen. But if he is indulging in corrupt practices, that should be handled under the Prevention of Corruption Act. But cancelling it, you are harming the public interest to the extent that there may be projects which may get delayed. There may be areas in which the electricity may not be uniformly provided. There may be many things. We don't know what are the things that those tenders were concerning themselves with. I cannot comment on it because each tender has got some specific reasons and specific goals. Maybe replacement of distribution wires, and so transformers have to be changed. There can be 100 reasons for each tender. And if you find some irregularities in tender, exactly what has happened, what is irregularity has to be fixed, has to be determined, and then that has to be tackled in its own way. But by cancelling the tender, you should also evaluate what would be the damage to the electricity infrastructure and provision of providing of electricity on a continuous and uniform basis all over the state. That is the aim of electricity department. Tender is a different thing. Just because there is a irregularity doesn't mean that you can cancel it, and you can cancel it provided there is somebody else who takes over immediately.
Or impact to the public should be reduced.
It should be zero.
Zero. Okay.
That man who is committing any corrupt practice or irregularity, he should be, the law should handle him, but he should be made to implement the project which he has undertaken and cut off his undue profit that he is trying to take out of the system. Suppose he is going to get, let us say, 10 crores as a corrupt money. Make sure that he doesn't get, and make sure that he implements the project also. And he implements the project, public doesn't suffer, but he suffers. The person who is committing the irregularity should suffer, he should be named and shamed in public. That should be the idea. But the project that he has undertaken to complete, he should be completed. Or his organization should be blacklisted. He should be brought to road.
Yes, sir.
See, the punishment should be exemplary in India. If this is a new thing that Mr. Vijay is starting, cancelling the tender, then you will reallocate, then you will give re-tender you will do. Now, these may be very highly specialized tenders, very specialized tenders. For example, if suppose some very specialized equipment has to be brought in, and for that a tender has happened, and the particular person who has won this tender is indulging in some malpractice. Now, if you cancel the tender, cancelling a tender will lead to a chain of things. That particular high-tech equipment which has to be brought in, which will modernize the whole system, will not happen. Will not happen unless you find another person who bids for the tender and who is competent to undertake that work. Because technical works are not like general work. Technical work is not like desilting the Kuam river. These are highly technical works. And replacing a technical tender by another service provider or another person who will do this work is not so easy. The question is, how much time will lapse in public interest? How much will the public suffer because of this? Suppose there is a very simple thing. Suppose some corruption or some irregularity has happened in a particular tender and you cancel it. And because of this cancellation, let us assume that 2 towns or 3 towns don't get electricity for 3 months. People will come to roads.
Correct.
These are essential services. Railways, hospital, electricity, transport, all these are essential services. You have to tackle corruption in essential services while it is running. You cannot stop the service and then tackle corruption. You're able to understand. Huh? You cannot do open heart surgery by stopping the heart and taking it out. You have to connect it to heart lung machine. The essential functioning of the heart should go on. It will be replaced by a heart lung machine. No, I am going to do a very, very good job of your heart. So let me take it out for 2 days. I will repair it and place it. By the time the body will go. So essential services, tackling corruption with essential services is a very different ball game. Very, very different ball game. There you have to do the work while the engine is running. You have to repair the engine when it is running. You cannot stop the engine and then. So I don't know how far the cancellation of tender, because I don't know the intricacies of which tender was. Suppose it is a tender for supplying helmets to all the linemen, or suppose boots for the linemen and trouser or uniform for the linemen. It can go on for 6 months later, then they can get it. But suppose it is a critical component or critical generation or a distribution thing which cannot be held. If that is, then the overall electricity supply will suffer. That will be difficult.
Correct. So when it comes to this, I have one more question, sir. In the government, is there a separate body which actually checks on the execution of these tenders? Because you say execution is so important, but the ministry is the one which gives the tender. And if they are the ones who are checking, even if some malpractice happens, it's not going to come out. Is there an independent agency in the government to actually check these tender executions or any government execution?
There are independent. See, we public in India loves to look at everything from the angle of corruption. They feel that anti-corruption is the most important thing. And are there bodies which look at corruption? There are bodies like Lokpal, Lokayukta. There are independent whistleblowers. There are so many agencies. There are private individuals who can take up the issue of corruption. But you see, it is not corruption as a perspective. If you take, it leads you to different this thing altogether. You have even audit and accounts C&AG is there. They look into the accounts, the way the tender was allocated, the way the money was spent, the procedures and things like that, and the end result.
For each and every tender.
They take up, see, the government is so vast that a department cannot handle everything. Every year they take up various areas of focus and then they dive deep. Once they take up an area, they dive full to the deep and they come out. But the problem is they find out mistakes after about 3-4 years or 5 years. By that time, everything is over. Your question, which is probably the public's question, is also, is there a real-time mechanism for monitoring? Is there a real-time mechanism that as the project is happening, can there be a monitoring? I don't think it is there in India. Real-time, simultaneous audit, simultaneous monitoring, simultaneous checking up of whether it is whether the project is living up to its promises and expectations. I don't think so. Because the most telling example is our bullet train project. You know where it is. But if for example, I can tell you another example which will help you in understanding the whole thing. Metro project in Chennai city, a huge project, very huge project. And because of this, there is so much of disruption of traffic, so much of disruption of in the roads, that people are really, really suffering. But they are not expressing it. Why? Because there is a hope. There is a hope that one day this metro will be put in place and there will be lot of ease of commuting in the city. That hope takes them, allow the suffering to happen. They allow the suffering to take place and they bear it. But suppose a project which is touted to happen in say 3 years, it's not happening in 10 years also, then the public anger will boil. Then public themselves are a watchdog of whatever projects are happening and whatever concerns them. But there are many projects in government which is not ever known to public, or which doesn't come in direct interface with public. Those things we don't know. We cannot even say how it has been implemented, whether this has happened or not.